Hey, this is Acronym TV, so what do you stand for?
Earlier this week, after years of secret talks, the United States and 11 other nations announced that they have reached an agreement on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, known as the TPP. It's also been called Nafta on steroids. We've called it a Trojan horse to usher in a global corporate coup. And if you think the concept of corporate personhood is bad news, the TPP seeks to strengthen the legal framework for corporate nationhood. Joining me today to discuss the TPP and the need to escalate the fight to stop it is Kevin Zeese. Kevin's a writer, organizer, and activist with Popular Resistance and Flush the TPP, among others, and a friend. Kevin, welcome back to Acronym TV.
Thanks for having me on, Dennis. Good to talk to you.
So Congress has 90 days at least to review the Trans-Pacific Partnership. They already granted him fast-track authority to negotiate the deal in secret. What's going to change in the debate around in this 90-day window during which they have to review the text?
Well, first off, we don't know when that 90-day window starts. There are multiple steps before it gets to that stage, and pretty much President Obama controls when Congress will start that 90-day time period. Among the things they have to do before then, they have to go right now. They're going through a process of final negotiations. We think there's a lot of details still to be done, so we don't know how that's going to turn out. Then they have to go through a legal review of it, get the phrasing right, technical review. And then they have to have a 60-day period where there's a public access to the text. And that will be very critical. And they also have to provide the public and the Congress with a list of the laws that need to be changed in order to make U.S. law consistent with the TPP. So there's a lot to do before the process starts. And I think the key part in there, which we won during the fast track debate, is the opportunity for the public to see it.
Right.
What that's going to mean. Will they give us the whole text? Will it be a summary of what's going to mean? But we want to hopefully see the whole text, all 1,200 plus pages, and give us time to review it, analyze it, and educate the public and mobilize people. So we'll have that 60-day period to do that. And then Congress gets it, and we'll see how it goes from there. It's not off to a good start.
Much of the text has been, at least in its prior to its being ratified by these 12 nations, has been leaked by WikiLeaks. And you've pointed out, among others, that of the 29 chapters or so of the TPP, what we've been able to see, only 5 of them actually deal with trade. What are the other chapters covering?
This is something that impacts every aspect of our life, whether water is privatized, whether food is inspected when it comes across the border, what kind of safety we can put on our own review of food and other products. I mean, so it really affects everything. And of course, the big chapter that is the most controversial is the investor-state dispute settlement, which builds on the previous trade agreements and allows corporations to sue governments, giving them more power than governments really to control the direction of law. If a government puts in place a law that is in the public interest to protect health and safety, workers, consumers, it can be sued by corporations for the expected profits that they were going to have without those laws.
During the lead up to the debate about and the fight against granting Obama fast-track authority, I spoke to Alan Grayson, member of Congress, who actually read behind closed doors most of the agreement.
Based on what you've seen of the TPP agreement, is there anything redeemable about it, or is it something that should be totally put to death?
It's something that should be totally put to death. There is no question I mean, look, I haven't read every page. They wouldn't let me read every page. There might be something on page 1253 that I missed. I'll concede that point. But the fact is that what I saw and what's been released publicly, without any exception, is a giveaway to a multinational corporation. The worst example that's been released publicly is the fact that they're going to set up multinational tribunals only for foreign corporations, and those foreign corporations will be suing the United States government and state governments and local governments under the aegis of the World Bank. The World Bank will appoint the arbitrators. The arbitrators will not be independent judges. They instead will be corporate lobbyists who are representing corporations in other cases at the same time. How could anything good come of that? They're giving multinational corporations the ability to reach into the pockets of U.S. taxpayers whenever they feel that the government has done anything here that might conceivably impede their revenues or their profits. That is evil.
Haven't these? I mean, that's one of the things that brings a lot of shock and awe to many of us, but hasn't that existed in some form? You said it builds on previous trade agreements. Don't corporations already have the right to sue nations for the expected loss of their profits?
Yes, this just ingrains it further into law. What they've been putting in place with these trade agreements is a whole new world order of law that gives essentially a corporatized law that protects corporate interests, gives corporations powers. For example, in these trade tribunals, only corporations can sue. Workers can't sue, communities can't sue, unions can't sue, environmentalists can't sue, individuals can't sue if they're harmed by trade. So it's limited to just the investors, which means the transnational corporations.
Hillary Clinton has famously, until just the other day, called the TPP the gold standard of trade agreements. She's changed her mind.
I have said from the very beginning that we had to have a trade agreement that would create good American jobs, raise wages, and advance our national security. And I still believe that's the high bar we have to meet. I have been trying to learn as much as I can about the agreement, but I'm worried. And then what I know, and again, I don't have the text, we don't yet have all the details, I don't believe it's going to meet the high bar I have set.
Kevin, what's changed Hillary's beliefs?
Well, what's changed, I'm not sure it's Hillary's beliefs. What's changed has been Hillary is running for president, and she is doing constant polling and focus groups. She's probably spending more on polling and focus groups than all the other presidential candidates combined because she has so much more money than them. And so she is not acting on her instincts. She's acting on an informed reality of the politics of the TPP. What this shows, and what every elected official needs to read from this, is that TPP stands for toxic political poison. Toxic political poison that every politician should stay away from and not have anything to do with. Hillary made a very smart move. This could have dragged her down greatly, especially a week before the first debate where both Sanders and O'Malley opposed the TPP. She did not want to be stuck defending the TPP with the terrible track record of these kinds of agreements as far as lost jobs, lower wages, and increased international trade debt. And increased international trade debt essentially means the hollowing out of the U.S. economy. So Hillary Clinton made the right decision politically. I don't trust her. I suspect that if she becomes president, we'll be fighting her against the TPP, just as President Obama said he opposed Nafta. Then he pushed Nafta on steroids with the TPP and the other big trade agreements. I expect Hillary Clinton will be someone who will be challenging if she becomes president.
If you listen to the U.S. Trade Representative Michael Froman, this sounds like a great deal. He says that, I'm going to roll a little bit of tape of him saying this opens up a new frontier in collective bargaining rights. And
this agreement establishes the strongest labor standards of any trade agreement in history. The right of association, right to collective bargain, prohibitions on forced labor, prohibitions on child labor, prohibitions on employment discrimination, acceptable conditions of work, minimum wage, maximum hours, safe workplace conditions. And they're all fully enforceable like other obligations in the agreement. With the countries that you mentioned, we have worked very closely and very collaboratively on specific actions to be taken that will help bring their systems into compliance with international labor standards, and including cooperative efforts around capacity building and other measures. And we're very much looking forward to working with those countries to ensure that that on the ground there is real measured progress towards improving the lives of workers and the dignity of work.
what's your reaction to the U.S. trade representatives making that claim?
Well, Michael Froman's been caught lying multiple times. The Washington Post did an article, which is a very pro-free trade newspaper, by the way, the Washington Post, did an article, one of those Pinocchio nose articles, where they gave the U.S. trade rep as many Pinocchio noses as they could give. Pinocchio noses because they were claiming it was going to create hundreds of thousands of jobs, when in fact it's not going to create any. It'll probably lose us jobs. And so Froman has a history of dishonesty and deceit, and people should take everything he says with a grain of salt. He's, of course, playing with the advantage of secrecy. He knows what's in the trade agreement. We don't. We only have leaks. Luckily, there are lots of leaks, so we have a very good idea of what's in it. We have news reports. We have people commenting off the records. We have a sense of what's going on. But Froman is a liar, and he's free to lie now that the trade agreement is not yet released. So I think we have to be very careful listening to what anything comes out of the U.S. Trade Rep or the White House during this time period. The real key is going to be when it's made public. We have a chance to analyze it ourselves, and we have a chance to put out the truth. That's when people should really start paying attention to those kinds of comments.
Kevin, you and others are calling for massive protests against the TPP November 14th through the 18th. How can people tap into that?
Go to flushthetpp.org, look under actions, and you'll see a whole host of actions being planned between now and the end of the year. The November actions are designed to occur at the time of the APAC meetings, the Asian Pacific Economic Council meetings. President Obama and Michael Froman will be there, as will be other trade ministers. No doubt they'll be continuing their negotiations on the details of the TPP. And we want to see protests at home. We have a variety of targets, so to speak, of protests in Washington, D.C., and we're inviting people to come. We're going to have 2 days of training and art development for the protests, and then 3 days of protest activity. So sign up at flushthetpp.org. These could be, really historic, just like Seattle was historic and stopping the WTO. We're now at a point where we need a historic moment, a cultural shift, to force this issue into the electoral season, to let the elected officials know that this is a very unpopular treaty, and that people are going to rise up against it, and they're risking, a revolt if they push forward with this corporate nationhood trade agreement. So please join us in November. Go to flushthetpp.org, under actions, and sign up and participate.
Great. Kevin Zeese with Flush the TPP and Popular Resistance. Thank you very much for joining us again.
Thanks a lot.
Acronym TV is independently produced and individually supported by individuals like you at acronymtv.com/donate. Acronym TV also receives additional underwriting support from Occupy.com, a global mouthpiece for the 99%. Find out more and support them there at Occupy.com.